Hey, what's going on? It's your boy back again. What was it, March 22nd, 2016? Well, I gotta say, driving home from work, slave ship just got off. And here we go again. Brother done got into another argument / discussion with a Christian over creation theory, this, that, and the third. Look, I don't know if I said it in one of my other videos. I'll state it again. I'm 40 years old right now, born in 1975. March 31st, got a birthday coming up, about to be 41. And grew up, went to Catholic school for 12 years, a couple Catholic schools, bounced around a little bit, nothing major. So you're taught, the Catholic religion in school. You have a class called theology class. And, of course, they're heavy on Christ and his life and whatnot. And then when you get out of school, you come outside to the streets and you see the Muslims, you talk to the Muslims. You have cousins that go to jail who now accept Allah. And then you hear that side of it. Then you start getting a little bit older, you start watching the news and you see what's going on. Then you start finding out about just crazy shit, Hindus, Buddhists, this, that, and you find out there's all these religions, all these spiritualities out there. And then you hit in your 30s and you come across Kemet, which is supposed to be the original, designed, for our black Egyptians, the original man. And you start studying some of that. Now, just to backtrack real quick, when I was in school, a question that used to, and I like to use this word, perplex me. This question I used to ask, how do you go from science class, you go in science, apologize for the video going black, but it's early 6:20 in the morning a.m. and I'm driving home. So I gotta keep focused on the road, just kind of holding the phone up right now, just, whatever. So anyway, the question that I asked myself, I said, how do I go from science class where you're teaching me about Neanderthalic man, you're teaching me about timelines, you're teaching me about fucking dinosaurs, you're teaching me about space, sun, moon, stars, quasars, you're teaching me about all these, elemental things, the earth, everything. You're telling me that the earth is like 43 billion years old, the universe is, or 43 million years old, or something like that. The universe is 14.7 billion years old, some shit like that. How do you go from that class and then a couple hours later, you step in a theology class and then you get into the Genesis discussion, and then it's like in the beginning. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just had a conversation last week with an evangelical who I work with, who told me the earth was only 6,000 years old. We got a very young planet. So it's like, and I looked at him like he was crazy, because we were just talking about some random stuff about the moon. The moon was up that night sitting on the side of the mountain. It looked pretty hot, over the horizon. And we got into a scientific discussion. And of course, once you start going into a scientific discussion with a Christian, it automatically goes to a religious discussion. So when he said 6,000 years old, I just looked at him, because actually, even in the 40 years I've been out here, and even in Catholic school, I did not hear that before. So I thought he was absolutely crazy when he gave me this number. So then I started looking it up, and I was like, wow, whoa, wait a minute. A lot of people believe that the place is only 6,000 years old. All right. But then when you go back into the science, gives you the millions of years old. So you start, it depending on if you believe in the Big Bang Theory, and, then if you believe in the Bang Theory, does that now automatically, to a Christian, that means you automatically believe in Darwin's theory of evolution, which I don't believe in Darwin's theory of evolution. It has a lot of holes in it. I do think that the universe is self-sustaining. I believe that it has evolved over a period of time but maybe not in the sense of evolution in the way that we think, you know, from the monkey to the man thing and all that. But then also, you know, so anyway, just fuck all that. So we're having this talk. So I started looking it up about this whole 6,000 year thing. And like I said, you go to, you know, the World Library, which is now Google, you know. So you start reading, you start seeing what, you know, Christian believe. Then I seen all the breakdown on how they break down Genesis, how they break down Judges, the book of Judges, the book of Kings, how they do all the timelines, you know, of Adam, you know, and everybody being 130 years old, 140, 100, you know, 500 this, all that, hundreds of years and all this other shit, you know. And they even have a scientific one that they use some science to back some of that up when they talk about the population of the earth is so many odd billion, was it 7 billion people or whatever. So they do some rough estimation, you know, to make that 7 billion work with 6,000 years. So I said, well, what about the whole carbon dating thing? Carbon 14, you know, there's 6 carbon atoms, you know, six carbon protons or whatever had to be present in the atom. You know, of 6 protons make up the carbon atom or some shit like that. I don't know, I could be a little wrong with that, but I'm in the ballpark. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not a fucking scientist. Just a hood nigga that read some things, you know. I know a whole lot about a little bit, or a little bit about a whole lot, whichever way you want to look at it. So, and hey, don't get me wrong, I never claimed to be a scholar, you know. But these things I'm always back and forth with, because you know what, yo, straight up, like I look for God all the time. I still look for him now, even though I'm probably, if you had to put me down on paper, I'm probably a borderline atheist or an agnostic, you know what I mean? Because I tried to do the whole Christianity thing and that it didn't work. It's like, once again, it's just too many holes in the stories, just way too many. And especially with me being mixed, with me being, you know, let's facts are facts. When they put us up in the lineup, they're going to put me down as black. So with me being in that category, how could I, you know, freely and realistically accept Christianity when that was the same, you know, that religion was forced upon my people? You know what I mean? Enslaved, not just black, but, you know, the Native American, the Spanish, the Asian. I don't see how anybody of what would be considered a different race other than Caucasian can accept Christianity. Point blank. You were, you know what I mean? Your people was raped, pillaged, slaughtered, and Christianity was forced upon you. You know what I'm saying? Death was your only salvation, and they back it up with that whole slave passage in the Bible about how you're supposed to love your slave master. There ain't no fucking way. You know what I'm saying? And the only reason why we can talk this way now is because we do have these freedoms to talk this way, to learn now. We do have the freedom to choose now. So since I'm exercising that right, I'm exercising my free will, and I'm saying no. I'm saying no to that bullshit. I'm not accepting that. You know what I'm saying? Only because, you know, well, I can't say only because there's a lot of different small reasons that bring me to that. You know what I'm saying? But the number one reason is no, that religion, I can't stand underneath the banner of something that persecuted and killed and murdered so many innocent people in the form of a belief in a control system. You know what I'm saying? So I know that's a little off base of maybe where I started at with the whole creationalist theory, but that's where it ends up going. You know how it is when you get in a discussion with somebody, it just keeps going and going until you get to a point you're just both exhausted. And I guess I've been exhausted with this whole subject for years. I guess that's why I decided to make the video. Like at first I was going to stay away from these and just stay on some comical shit and just talk about random thoughts that go on. But I realized that if I give of myself and I want my kids to see some of my work and some of the things I say, like in my very first video where I talked about maybe doing a form of a video diary so that when I'm gone, my kids can look back and they can say, hey, this is what dad was thinking of and going through when he was 40. I'm 40 now. The video stood the test of time. You know, I was able to search the archives and find this shit, you know, and this is what he left. So that's what he was going through. That's what happened on him that day. You know, that's what his thought pattern was that day that controlled his movements that morning. So where do we go with all this? I don't fucking know. I don't know where to go with all of it. Because, you know, sometimes when you talk to some of these Christians when it comes to this shit, because to me that's what it comes down to. It's just pure shit. Your mind is so engulfed in this that you can't even reason certain things out, or you won't even begin to try to reason certain things out. And that you'll only use the science as long as it backs up your religious agenda. As long as it correlates with your religious agenda, boom, science is correct. It matches with what we're saying in the Bible. Boom, we're good. The whole, you know, well, they found in Noah's Ark, and you know, scientists found it, and they carbon dated it, and it goes back to this time period. You know what I'm saying? And that same time period of Noah. So see, I told you. Oh, but when I was talking to you 15 minutes ago about carbon dating, you were telling me how inaccurate it was when it came down to the dinosaur fossil, or how inaccurate it was when it came to the creation of the planet and the solar system, but it was good enough to back up your Noah theory. Matter of fact, the reason why I said the Noah thing is because the dude I was talking to brought that up about Noah, and I said, yeah, so he had all these different animals on the boat and stuff like that. You know, he was like, yeah, well, they weren't full-grown animals in the way you think. He had all baby animals. I paused for silence just for a certain reason. He had all the babies. Okay, I guess that makes sense as far as, you know, how big it was, and you know, how to have, because you got to have room. You can't just have a bunch of elephants on there. And the babies, they're probably really not going to fight with each other like an adult lion would go after a fucking giraffe or some gazelle or something like that, you know. So yeah, it would make sense to have all babies. I'm just wondering how he fed them all. They all ate fish? Because it didn't say that. It didn't say anything about how he fed the animals. And you got all these other things there where it talks about, you know, on a certain day this and a certain day that, and you know, this king reigned for that day, for that time period, you know. So you got all these other places where they break all these things down. But then when it comes to some of the more obvious things, like, well, how do you feed all the animals? Oh, no, don't worry about that. It was divine. Okay. Divine feeding. You see what I'm saying, yo? You can teach this shit to a 5-year-old. They ain't going to ask that question. And if they do, you're able to give them some little stupid answer, and they're like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But majority of kids ain't going to ask that. Then you hit the teenage thing, you start going through what I did in high school. You start asking that shit. And it gets to a point where the nun tells you, like she told me, get up and get out of the classroom. And you're like, wait, I got a regular question. I'm just trying to ask you. You know what I mean? If Jesus fed them with 2 fish and some bread, why are we all hungry today? If he fed all the 40,000 people, there shouldn't be no famine going on around here. Or were they only the ones that were chosen and were not chosen? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I don't get when it starts to come to that. Now, I'm not going to get into the direct contradictions that are in there, you know, because there's a lot of them in that book. There's a lot of contradictions. I'm not going to get into all of those, you know what I'm saying, and start pointing out this scripture and that scripture. I'm just using certain ones as examples of shit that I ask myself. Like, some of it you may seem like asking yourself a dumb question, and then when you do that, if you talk to somebody that's religious, they're like, oh, well, you should talk to my pastor so he can explain it to you. Why? I just read it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking dumb. I ain't got a learning disability. I'm just asking a question to myself. Why do I need a pastor to explain that to me? You know what I'm saying? You really can't. You can't explain that to me. Like, and it's not my ego saying this. Let's not get it wrong. This ain't my ego saying that you can't tell me nothing. Oh, please, I want you to tell me. But shouldn't I be able to read between the lines and be able to just gather this answer, like, right out of there? You know, if this religion was supposed to be for all of us, and this was supposed to be the way with God's people, why did you make it so complex? Why is it that it's showing that the only people that mattered was back 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago? The ones that were led out of Exodus, led out of Egypt. Those were the ones that were important. Because us other 6 billion or whatever there is now, we ain't important no more. You know what I mean? Because you know what? Around here, there's a lot of starvation going on. Motherfuckers is dying. There's still modern day slavery going on. Oh yeah, we supposed to love them, though. You're supposed to love the cop that beat in your aunt's head, or your uncle shot your son, killed your nephew. You're supposed to love him. You're supposed to forgive that. In one part, you know, it's supposed to be an eye for an eye. You're supposed to kill the motherfucker. Then in the other part, you're supposed to turn the other cheek. Which one is it? That's what I want to know. Which one is it? Because you know what? If you had a clear definition, and it was clear, that the word was clear. I mean, I know you try to tell me when you talk to a pastor, oh, it's clearly written right here. You take this part literal, but not this part. And then you take that part literal, but not that part. All right, so he was here to save us for the sins. But yet over here it says no man can die for another man's sins. But he was divine, so he wasn't a man. But yet he took the form of the man. How do you explain that to a child? Is what I want to know. To the point that he can accept that his whole life into adulthood. If he gets the opportunity to grow into adulthood. And that he fully understands that. We ain't supposed to understand God? I mean, I thought he wanted us to understand him. He said he's in us. He said he's us. We are the gods. So if he is us and I am him, because he's in me, his kingdom's in me, why do I gotta keep looking around? All I should have to do is look in the mirror and understand. Realistically, why do I need someone else to explain it to me? Now, I know it may come off and seem like, oh, well, you know what? I don't even know how it comes off. Does it seem arrogant to you for me to say something like that? Does it seem like, oh, well, you're going about the knowledge the wrong way? Oh, son, you're doing the math wrong? Like, where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? You know where it leaves us? It leaves us in a state of confusion. And then here we go with that one. Well, that's where the devil wants you. Because he has ruler over all these things. Okay, this is what I'm not getting. I mean, then there's a lot of things. But the part that I'm not getting is you loved us so much. And you love us so much. And I know about to do the dreadful thing of questioning. And I'm questioning because I don't understand. I don't get it. It's not to be mean. It's not to be blasphemous. It's not to be any of those things, any of those religious terms. It's just I don't get it. When you're fully awake, how can you tell someone who is awakened mentally? When I say awake, I mean awakened mentally. The eye is open. All three of them are open. I see things. So how can you explain it to a person in a way that says, like I said, love your slave master. I'm going to give him dominion over all things out here. Well, first man had dominion, but he screwed up with the talking snake and the chick. So now we can't have those good graces anymore. So our only good grace is upon death. So then we're taught to do all these good things we're supposed to do. Forgive thy neighbor, love thy brothers, follow all the commandments, do this, do that, do this. But then in the book it says, you will not enter in through your merits, but only through the grace. So regardless if I follow those things or not, I'm only in if you say I'm in. So if I've been looking for you and you claim that you're there, why are you making it so hard for me to find you? Oh, that goes back, that's Satan. That's Satan that's doing it. He's in the way. Okay, so what you put him in the way for then? Why'd you distract us with that shit? That's what I don't understand. You love us. You built all this for us. So what is he doing here? If you say, well, man says, not you say, but if man says that, you know, he has rule over all these things and he has his time period and everything has his time period and stuff. So it was cool with just letting us sit back here and just suffer. And generation after generation after generation has died waiting on you. That's love. Maybe that's the type of love that I don't know. Because I don't have the faith. I don't have the vision. I didn't have the original sin washed from my forehead. I wasn't baptized. I might as well ask it, because that means since I wasn't baptized, I can't get in anyway when the party starts. When everybody else is let in, I can't get in. You know, I don't get to come back when it's all said and done. Y'all do, but I don't. You know, to me, what seems like an egotistical thing is when someone tries to tell you that it's all a part of this plan, but you just don't understand. But only the ones of us that had the faith, that believe this way, are the ones that understand. Or we're the ones that's getting in. You can't come in. Yet, you know what? I met more Christians in my life that done some of the foulest shit ever. But because they accepted Christ, because they accepted being born again, because they accepted of the waters, they get to go to the party and I can't go. And I've done more good things for a lot of people than a lot of these foul ass Christians. I ain't never ran through raping through, you know, villages and pillaging with a cross on my neck, spreading the word of Christianity. I ain't never blew a bunch of people up spreading the word of Islam. You know what I'm saying? So how can their merits, we don't even compare. We don't even fucking compare to that shit. But yet you're borderline, what you want to call agnostic, atheist, whatever you want to call it. Ain't no love for us. And we've been looking for you the whole time.